Guys, I'm June from Saastronautics, if you didn't know, and we're here for the third SaastroTalks. If you don't know what SaastroTalks are, it's just a new series we're doing. It's about value providing for our community. We're reaching out to professionals and experts in their industry to teach us everything they know. And today we have a very special someone. And if you don't know about Glorify, go check it out. We have Omar from Glorify here, and it's also a special day for him because it's his birthday. So everybody wish him a birthday in the comments. Let him know. Okay, no more talking from me. I'm going to bring him on. Give me 1 second. There we go. Hey, Omar.
Hey, what's up? What's up, June? How you doing?
Good, good. Happy birthday, man. It's a special day.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you. That's that's a really special welcome. So thanks a lot.
Yeah, this is a really special SaastroTalks too, because one, a lot of the people in the communities already know about Glorify. So we're really happy to have you on here. And the other thing is it's your birthday, so I can't believe we got you on a day like this. So we're really happy, actually.
I didn't even realize it was my birthday till this morning. So it's a bit of a surprise for me too. So yeah, no, it's awesome and really excited to be here. So yeah, thanks for bringing me on.
Awesome, awesome. Yep, thank you. And so today, Omar is going to be talking about how to use your agency as a stepping stone to build your product. And this is something that I'm also interested in. I am not a product owner. I am an agency owner, not a successful one, just a small agency owner, like a lot of people out there. And so I'm really looking forward to this presentation. Let me get off the screen for you, and I'll let Omar start his presentation. Give me 1 quick second. Okay, and Omar, you're on the screen, and you can share your screen, and I'll get the presentation
up. Let me do that. Mm-hmm. Cool. So screen one. Can you guys see my screen?
1 second. I'll throw it up there. There we go. Yeah, we can see it.
Excellent, excellent. Okay, so yeah, let's jump in, guys. I would just quickly like to request everyone, you know, as they're joining in, to get comfortable, get cozy. Definitely try to zone in because there's a lot of information in my presentation today. And I'm going to be speaking really fast just to get through all of the content. But by the end of the session, we'll also go through a Q&A. So if you haven't understood anything in particular, haven't focused on a specific point, don't worry, because we can go back through it. And plus, I believe, June, we'll be giving them the slide deck afterwards, right?
Absolutely, we can do that. I know they're going to want it.
Cool, awesome. So yeah, without further ado, let's just jump straight into it. So this presentation, of course, is about, you know, how to use your agency as a stepping stone to build and create and launch your own product. And honestly, I would say that being an agency owner, doesn't matter how big or small your agency. My agency wasn't particularly massive or anything like that. It was a small agency and we were servicing a few clients on a retainer. But that expertise you're learning and growing within your agency gives you the perfect pivot point to then position yourself and make that 360 flip into becoming a product-focused company. And so you're very privileged to be in that model because it's just the best kind of learning platform to be in, rather than actually going and learning stuff from courses and content. I think just having that for hands-on experience is just going to be powerful for you. So let's jump straight into it. So a little bit about myself. I'm co-founder and CEO of Glorify, an e-commerce focused design tool. But really at core, I'm a digital motion designer with a passion to help e-commerce, e-learning and digital startups through design strategy specifically. So design and branding strategy specifically. And I've been doing this for about 7 years. Now, just a little snapshot about my journey for you to get some context about me. As a motion designer in my career, I started very early on with the Amazon FBA model. If you're familiar with that, it's probably the most easiest business model that anyone can learn. And you know, I was fortunate enough to find out about this model because at the time I wasn't really business savvy. I was a creative professional, and you'll find that a lot of creative professionals are kind of pushed and cast aside in corporate environments, and they're the guy that kind of, you know, makes things look pretty. But actually designers are, you know, moving to a place where they're much more highly sought out and more valued. And so my first dabble into business was actually in the Amazon FBA model, and gave me the leverage to, you know, the first stepping stone into entrepreneurship. Literally, it's just, if for those of you who don't know what the Amazon FBA model is, you just purchase the product in China. a white label product, you brand it yourself, you then use the Amazon flywheel and platform to launch it on there and generate sales. Now, I had sort of an added advantage over my fellow peers in the this entrepreneur community, which was I was able to design my own product imagery by myself with my of course my design background. And the way I approached this was very unique compared to other people, where I sort of saw it from a strategic perspective of for all my experience from working with lots of info commercials and stuff. I took my kind of storyboarding process that I would usually do in motion design and brought that in the product image carousel process, so that the entire product image carousel was almost story driven. Because really and truly, when it comes to marketing, it's all about creating a narrative and a story around your product that will actually generate that sale for yourself. So this kind of expertise, or this kind of strategy that I developed to launch my product, allowed me to first sell out all of my products, and then I became sort of people knew about my success in that and was seeking out my services to do their own product image sequencing for them as well, which then led me to start my own agency helping e-commerce businesses and even e-learning businesses, because the product image story-driven product images works for both digital products, physical products, or any type of product, in fact, right? It's all about creating a story-driven sequence of product imagery. That works not just for a carousel, but even your landing page needs to have story-driven sequencing as well. So I use that kind of process to build my agency and service digital and e-com physical product startups. And that led me to refine and define this process even more, which then led me to develop what we coined the product image formula, right? So this was our own process that we developed internally to get our customers to go through brand strategy to develop an entire sequence of product images for them to launch into the market and create impact. With the profits, we eventually scaled that agency to a point where we only had to work with a few selected, about a handful, 5 startups that got them to a stage where they were, making 6 to 7 figures. And we only required, we didn't necessarily need to take in more work because we had these great retainers that kept our business alive. And that allowed us to profit. And we, instead of obviously cashing in profits, we wanted to see if we can still scale our business further. And it made sense to take the process that we developed and automate it through software. So we started spinning out code and building SaaS. And eventually we quit our agency and became a product-focused company. And we never looked back ever since. Now, it's been a very one glorious year. I would say, we started with 7 team members, 0 users, 0 followers, 0 designs made off the Glorify platform. And as of yet, we were voted #1 product of the day. We are nominated by Product Hunt in 2019 for the Best to Design Tool Award. We also voted #2 product of the week. We have 28 team members. Some of these figures need to be updated, but 40,000 users as of this month. 60,000 plus followers across all our channels, and 250,000 designs made off our platform in 1 year. And these numbers are growing every single day. Now, of course, I think that sets a good precedence of why we went from product agency to product. But what does this mean for you specifically? Why would you go from agency to product? Now, I would assume that most of you guys in this in watching today, either owns an agency or in doing some kind of freelance operation, which is the same if you're doing consulting even, that works as well, because it's the same kind of model and processes involved to go from service to product. But the real why here is, I think, summed up by Nathan Lacta over here. He's on LinkedIn. He made this post. He's a tech enthusiast, founder of founderpath.com. Check him out on LinkedIn. He made this post on LinkedIn. He said, want to build a $1 million plus SaaS company? He said, do this first. Build an agency. You learn to sell and solve problems at the agency. Okay, that's your expertise that you learn. When you learn to solve that problem over and over again, you build code. You realize code can be used by a mass audience. You then spin out SaaS and build in your first 100 customers. And then he claims that agency owners in their 20s make the best SaaS founders in their 30s, right? So again, to just dial this in a little bit more, agency route. If you think about this, of course, I don't want to knock the agency model completely. I ran an agency, and there's plenty of great agencies out there, very respectful and respectable in terms of what they've been able to generate and the value they've provided to the customers and the clients they work with. So it's an awesome business model, just to give that value to a variety of clients, right? But the reality is, no matter how, to just look at it with an objective perspective, is that ultimately there's limited scale. Okay, so it does require to have multiple retainers to scale, and retainers are not easy to sell. You have to lock in a customer or your client for a 12-month contract and keep renewing those contracts year by year, right? If you, of course, have worked with a company for over a year, then most likely those contracts are going to keep renewing because they become a fundamental, almost like a fiduciary of your, you become a fiduciary of their company, almost like a partner almost, right? So they sort of rely on you. So once you've locked in the 12 months agreement, then that's great. But still, that then having you'll sort of be in the position to keep basically selling those kind of retainer models versus doing project on project, because project by project is just ultimately not sustainable and it doesn't build runway. And of course, you're going to be always accountable to others, whether in a subtle way or not. Your clients are always going to put you in the position of, you know, looking at you and your service on trial, right? You are being put on trial in a subtle way or not. And the reason this is the case is because ultimately, if you think about it objectively, clients chose you because no matter how much, you know, rapport you have with them and how great you guys work together, ultimately they chose you because you're the least risky option, right? Clients make a decision based on whether you're the least risky option or not. That's the sole kind of deciding point. And so that kind of puts you in a position of high responsibility towards them, right? Now, the product route, there's a lot of, you know, pros, as you can see, I've listed down here, and we'll go through them one by one. You know, number one, if you go from agency to product, you get to provide more value, right? So you're already providing value to a certain amount of client base, but imagine automating that value or that process and then giving that value at scale is awesome, right? Sustainable drive, you decide to pour, instead of working with multiple clients, you get to pour all your energy into and core expertise into one product that you're passionate about. And so that gives you longevity and energy to sustain yourself with positivity and a great mindset. Broaden your experience. You become a highly sought out expert. This is really key because when, you know, agency route, you start to learn a lot, but then when you start building a product, honestly, you're kind of, it's learning on steroids, because you're starting to, you know, take on this massive responsibility to build your own product, you know, with your team and lock heads and then launch in the market. Just those inner processes of taking complete ownership there, you know, just kind of launches you into a plethora of learning key areas in the entire product launch process, right? You're forced to kind of take that head on. And so your experiences goes from here to like miles away. You take on full accountability for yourself. So this is, again, going back to the agency route, you know, you're accountable to clients, but in this case, you're of course accountable to your team because you've hired them, but ultimately you are assuming most of the risk. And that can be scary, yes, but also it's very freeing. You know, when you take that accountability for yourself, it's you know, you feel the sense of freedom because yes, ultimately I'm responsible for myself. And if you are someone that you know, loves to take on that responsibility, then you have it's a very freeing position to be in. Of course, all of these gathered together it produces a great byproduct. Of course, if you succeed in doing this, the launching a product will of course give you more revenue. No doubt, it'll create more jobs, which is you know, a great feeling, of course, and ultimately leads to more fulfillment. Now, there's two types of products that you can choose. I'll quickly run through this. Physical products. I think most of you guys know the different types of products, physical products, digital products. For physical, you know, typical e-commerce niches like electronics, fashion, etc. Merchandise. Now, merchandise you won't be able to sell unless you're some kind of popular content creator or influencer. Educational, you know, books, binders, if you're some e-learning based company. But then again, you need to have a digital product for e-learning to spin out physical educational products as well, would be the best route. Now, the pros of physical products is that it does not have to be aggressively iterative. You can, you know, build a product 1 year and you know, that product will be in demand for a longer period of time. Whereas in the digital space, the market moves a lot faster, you know, so you have to keep iterating and developing and moving forwards with the market trends, because technology just you know, basically moves at light speed. And so you got to always keep up. But with physical products, not necessary. The kind of gap of your product being redundant is a bit larger, right? Anywhere from 2 years plus, right? And of course, the other pro is that it's a simple business model. It's not complex. Ultimately, you're producing a product, you're listing it on your online store, and you're selling it. The disadvantages are many in physical products: the production cost, the risk of becoming redundant because another competitor produces something way better than yours, then all of your stock is literally like, redundant, and you're having a hard time selling it because of these other better stuff, better competitors or better solutions out there. The maintenance, that comes with that. So if you become redundant, then you end up having a lot of maintenance costs, which sucks. Just for storage and stuff like that. Shipping, of course, and you're limited for shipping. It's not just the cost of shipping, but wherever your factories remains, you'll have to rely on the factory locale. And the further you ship products, the more shipping cost that entails. The cost of iteration evolution. So if a competitor comes and makes you redundant, then iterating that product, first of all, you have to go, even if you have a bunch, a massive backlog of stock that you need to sell out, and you roll out a new version, that automatically kind of puts less interest in your current stock, right? So it's kind of a painful risk that you have to take on. However, digital products, I'm a big fan of digital products. I'm sure a lot of you guys can appreciate this being in Saastronautics. It's evergreen. You produce it, and that's it. You can sell unlimited amount of stock anywhere in the world, right? It's easy to iterate and solve, and it's always an iterative process. So when you spin out any type of digital products, e-learning, educational, or even SaaS or app applications, you have to keep up with the trends and keep iterating. But it's easy to do that, right? It's not hard, because ultimately what you're doing is you're either taking away or adding to your existing product. Easier to scale up and down, right? So you can have a core team at hand that's full-time, but you can have a bunch of contractors working for you when and if you need it. And so that allows you to kind of manage your overhead. Global reach with no additional cost. Okay, so once your product is live, you literally got access to the entire world with no additional cost of shipping, unlike physical products, which is a real bummer there. And of course, I'd say the only cons that exist in selling digital products is the business models can be complex, not across the board, but they can be a bit more complex. You have to figure out the plans, the tiers, the upsells, and all that kind of stuff to make it sustainable. And then of course the competition is really, really aggressive lately. So you do have to come up with unique solutions to basically disrupt the market. But if you're someone that's a problem solver, then you can do this. Now, just to dial this in even further, okay, because you can see there's a pattern I'm coming towards where I'm trying to focus more on digital, because Anthony Yell, from CEO of Razorfish, go check him out. He's a CEO of a very profound agency. They've been around since before the dot-com boom, and in fact they pioneered a lot of strategies in the dot-com boom. Razorfish has a massive influence in the kind of Valley area, and the CEO said everything that can be digital will be, right? And if that's not to say that the importance and the scale of digital, then I don't know what is, because ultimately if you think about it, who would have thought that a company that owns no taxi cars would own probably the biggest kind of taxi service, a digital taxi service that exists, of course, Uber. Who would have known the biggest real estate or accommodation company would own 0 accommodations around the world? Of course, Airbnb there, right? That's the power of digital, right? And so ultimately the question comes down to, what would you choose, digital or physical products? Okay. Again, I want to have a little caveat and a disclaimer. There's nothing wrong with physical. I've sold physical products, and it's a great model. There's agencies and freelancers that have spun out physical products that make sense to them because of the experience in their agency with that specific physical product. For example, I've seen photography companies roll out a line of photography-based accessories. I've seen, so stuff like that. I've seen kind of design companies roll out, design-oriented physical products as well. So this happens and exists. However, in this context, I want to talk about digital products because of the clear advantages that exist. Okay, so the good news, to add and pepper this on forwards, is that ultimately it doesn't matter if you choose physical, it doesn't matter if you choose digital. The core principles of the stuff that I'm going to talk about today are always going to be the same, right? Ultimately, if you use these principles, they will apply for physical and digital. Now, has it been done before? Has it been done, going from agency to product focus, right? Yes, it has been done, and quite excited to say. So here's a mentor of mine. You might be familiar with Chris Do. He's the CEO of The Future. This is when I met him in London in 2017. We did an event with him in London. It was a great time. And if you don't know Chris Do, he's a massive design authority in the design industry, of course, and the creative industry as a whole. And he's got a massive following, a 2 million, I think, or 1 million plus following on YouTube. And he's been helping designers and creative people position themselves as high-end problem solvers to then, drive more better results with their creative services. And so he started from Blind, his design agency, a very, again, prominent design agency that serviced the likes of Xbox, Audi, even Coldplay, the band, right? So they've done they've got an amazing portfolio of clients. And that led Chris Do to then position himself as a content-focused company where they were dishing out content of value. And off the back of that content, because of his authority in the design space, he started rolling out e-learning products, products that enable creative people like myself to level up. That then further led him down the line to sell out physical products like merchandise because of his popularity and books and stuff like that. Same goes for Russell Brunson. So Russell Brunson, you might know him, of CEO of ClickFunnels. Of course, there's a lot of mixed opinions about him and his product and his business model and his community, but it goes without saying that the product and his community that he's created is a massive success, right? And he's created almost a cult-like tribe of funnel hackers. And it comes again from the same route. He was a sales funnels consultant, a service-based company that led him to realize that there's a core problem that exists in the space of creating not just fancy websites, but funnel sales-oriented websites, landing pages, funnels that goes through a process of getting the end customer to actually buy your product. And he hacked that really, really well, and he built a community and tribe around the SaaS product, which then led him to create educational content, physical stuff, e-learning, digital products, and even events, right? So you can see the power of going from service to product, right? Gary Gasper, he's the CEO of Marker.io. I do encourage you guys, take note of this, to go check him out on Medium. He's got a brilliant article for going from agency to SaaS startup in 5 lessons. And he was originally an agency owner of Cote Claire, which is a web mobile apps agency. So it made total sense for him to go down the digital product routes and creating applications. And he built an application called Bug Reporting SaaS, called Marker.io, which helped them report bugs. Now, interesting story about him is that when he went into building a product, he first built a product for like a CMS thing for restaurants, specifically a CMR product for restaurants, and he had failure in that. And the reason he said that he failed in that first startup that he tried to launch was because he didn't feel the pain problem at its core as he should, and his team didn't feel it either, because it wasn't in line with sort of the clientele and the problem and a problem that's close to his heart. So then he realized, okay, what is a problem that they face on a day-to-day basis? And the clear problem that they have with their end client that they want to shorten the process of is bug reporting, right? And he realizes a clear gap in that because of his first-hand experience working with clients, seeing that gap in the market. And so he made an application that first and foremost solved that problem for himself, which is Marker.io, this bug reporting SaaS, and then made that public, right? So it's all about scratching your own itch first before then bringing that, turning that into a product and bringing that out public. So this is where I'm going to go deep. So I want you guys to kind of really, really reel in here, because I'm going to go through the 3 steps from agency to product. Okay, so let's do it. Okay, so number 1, build your agency and freelance expertise. Do not compromise on that. Don't jump into building products until you've learned. And I truly mean, not fad learned, not BS learned, not like some kind of this, this strategy is unique and has, it's a framework that everyone should know. Don't bring in false hype. Really, truly learn to solve high-stake problems at its core and drive real results for customers over and over again. Learn to solve high-stake problems, okay? Again, key thing here, no BS and no hype, right? And the problems can be of many running an agency. You might be doing a marketing agency, a design agency, or even if you're doing a legal kind of consultation agency, right? It does not matter. The framework is still the same. Focus on delivering a product that helps with either ROI, management, design, productivity, production, communication, documentation. It does not matter, but learn to solve the problem. And solving the problem simply means for a very specific customer type, solving that issue and making the process much more, making the process lenient and powerful so that they get a great result at the end of the entire process. Now, once you've learned to solve that problem, just a little quick snapshot before I go into the next step is, the problem that we were able to solve for our customers, being mostly e-commerce clients, using the product image strategy that we created, was able to create a sequence of story-driven product images that led our customers to generate higher revenue and turnover. Because ultimately, in the e-commerce game, especially in Amazon, it does come down, a big chunk of your kind of clickbait or your sales revenue and conversions comes down from your product image quality, even more so before copy and copywriting and stuff like that. And so it really does come down to your product images. And so this is how we were able to drive these results for the clients that we've displayed here. Now, step number 2 is to build depth in your expertise. And this is also really important. And you found a process and you're solving a high stake problem and you've got that solved. But then solving a problem, that same problem that you're solving for your end client might be being solved by many other agencies. So it's your job to, okay, you found this great process that helps your customer get value, but how can I refine that process even better? Refine it as in tighten the steps, make it faster, make it more efficient. Then how can I then define it? Meaning I haven't seen any other agencies out there that quite does the process just like we do. So I want to create I want to define it. And defining it just simply means that I take ownership of this process and I make it mine. Razorfish, the agency we were talking about earlier, the quote that I kind of flashed on screen from Anthony Yale, he created his own process that was unseen in the digital space at the time, which was Stylescapes. Stylescapes is a way of presenting to the end client a brand presentation in a Stylescape deck that gives them a clear picture of what options to choose, what direction to choose for their brand look and feel and design and philosophy, right? And so they built that process. In the same way we've done that ourselves, we created the product image strategy formula, and we'll go into that in a moment. But defining it just simply means taking, you've built this process. How can I then own it by creating a definition? Even go so much so to the point that you coin a term for that process. And coining that term gives you even more rights and kind of privilege to just take pure ownership of that, because no one does it quite the way you do, right? And then you need to document that process for further ownership. You you document it, you publish ebooks, you could publish content on it on your YouTube site, and just show how the process works for the end client. Get permission from your client to show you the entire process A to Z, and that won't only just help you, help you with the product development process, but it's also going to generate more interest in you in terms of the clients, because ultimately clients love systemization. Clients love strong processes, and that the agency or the service provider are positioning toward them, right? And really, when it comes to documenting the process, ultimately this whole building depth of your expertise, you can see in the slide we've got solve, validated, sell. Okay, because this is really key component to refining your process, is that you solve the problem for your client, you validate it from the results, and then you learn to sell it to another client. Sell the problem they're facing and the solution you can bring forwards and the process that you've built, right? So solve, validate, sell, solve, validate, sell, in that order. And this is what we were able to do at Glorify when we're running our agency Mosaic. We had the product. We built out the product image strategy formula, which is our core process that helped our clients generate revenue through strategic product imagery. And this is the single most important design, research, ideation, and execution process that has helped hundreds of e-commerce businesses deliver high converting story-driven product images online. And clients were really attracted to this process, and they wanted to take it on themselves. Because we publish content out there, we got more people coming, checking out the content. But ultimately, even if we're educating them about them, they want to go to the people that have created the process, that are the owner of the process, to do it for them, right? And so the last and final point in building a product is, once you've defined, refined, documented your process, you need to now scratch your own itch. The process, so the process that you've created has all these software tech solutions that you're using to get the client the result they deserve. So let's say you're doing marketing, for instance. You've got a bunch of paid ad softwares, analytic softwares, and stuff like that, and processes and systemizations with your team to give your clients the best result possible, right? Now, to find a way to automate it means you look and analyze your entire process and find a way to make that process much better, efficient, and faster through technology. So almost like scratching your own itch, finding, okay, I've got this process, but I just want to make it much more efficient for myself so I can deliver better results faster and better, right? And so if you find a way to automate the process, and you will, because you own the process, you know the process A to Z, you'll know where the loopholes are, where the gaps are there that exist to fill. And then you can jump in and start building. And building doesn't mean, you need tech people right away. It just means that you need to go have whiteboard sessions. You need to have a notebook all the time and just brainstorm your ideas. You got to go into a wireframing tool and just build out clunky concepts on a wireframe tool like Balsamic, for instance, or Figma, and just keep building and don't stop. And this is what we were able to do, guys. We went from process to automated, right? So we took our product image formula and we built and spun out Saas, which is a e-commerce focused design tool that allowed us to first give everyone personalization, so as any user comes in, whether they're an e-commerce solo entrepreneur or an enterprise level entrepreneur, we wanted to understand who they were in the onboarding. So we understand, okay, are they an Amazon seller? Are they a drop shipper? Are they a content creator? We get that information and we serve them the right templates through personalization that matches their niche, right? So the first thing we wanted to solve was personalization, because none of the other design tools out there have personalization. They don't show the end user the niche product, the niche templates that they're interested in. They don't have product focused templates, and nor do they personalize the kind of business model that they run. So if you're running an Amazon business, then clearly you want to see Amazon related templates first before you see any other unrelated template sizes and formats that are irrelevant to your business, right? So we started with personalization, and then of course we created an easy to use editor for the non-designer, the solo entrepreneur that's launching his physical product. So simply you find the template that you like that's a perfect match for your niche. You take your product, you drop it into the template, you remove the background with a click, you customize really easily with the editor. And the great thing is that it's really easy for the non-designer, but we try to focus to make it still tasteful for the pro designer. I'm a professional designer and I hate a lot of the DIY tools that exist because they feel very, very patronizing. They make me feel like a baby, where I just want that extra kind of technical feel and experience that makes me feel like I'm a professional designer. It's silly, I know, but this is the impact of UI and UX, that you got to make people feel more than do before, right? And so that's what the editor was about. And then we focused on scale, because again, e-commerce entrepreneurs want to launch campaigns at scale. They find a template they like. They want to then find the matching ebook for that. They want to find the matching ad sets for that, so that the entire campaign looks consistent. So every template that we create inside Glorify comes with its own consistent stylized bundle, so you can stay consistent and thematic throughout your entire campaign. Now, let's go into building your product. So this is, again, a bit of a detailed approach. I just want to see how long we've been live and kind of see, where we're at so far.
We're like 30 minutes in, but an hour and a half is still fine with us. I'm learning so much. I'm taking notes, Omar, so keep going.
Brilliant. Oh, well, we've got a little bit left to go, so we'll kind of speed through this last part. So guys, as the content is coming in, any question that does come out, just drop it in the comments, and hopefully we can pin those up later. All right, so building your product. First things first, if you're running an agency, the most hardest point is time management, okay? And this is not something I discovered myself. I learned this from, again, the founder of marker.io. We flashed him on screen earlier. And in his article, he said one of the key components that I learned was that don't treat your your product development in your agency as a side project. Treat it like another client, okay? And this is a massive kind of mindset shift that allowed me to actually build the product in the space of 1 year. Because if you treat it like a side project, honestly, it won't get built. But if you treat it like a client, then you have further responsibility and due diligence that you put into it. And not just that, you need to kind of have this framework of thinking, okay, the product that we're building is a client, right? But also the client is going to pay you loads of dividends at the end of the year once you deliver the product. So think of it as a 12-month engagement with this client that will pay you anywhere between $50,000 to $100,000. Just create a invisible goal for the time being, and commit to that. Okay, just imagine and believe in that goal. Honestly, you might hit that even further once you launch your product. But if you treat it like a client, it will get done, and your time management will just kind of fall into place naturally. The research part is really important. Don't ever fall short of research. Honestly, don't assume that the solution that you're building is going to solve every problem that that become a massive game changer, because most likely it might not, if you don't know, if you you're unaware of some existing solutions that already exist that are doing it better. So any existing solutions that do it better. So key point here is keep looking at what the market is giving out there, what exists, what existing solutions. You know your process. You built this process to give your client the end result, the best end result possible. So looking at that process, you know the existing solution that exists already to help you. So for example, analytic tools, if you're doing paid ads and stuff like that. But then look further, look outside. Maybe there's new tools that come out. This is a very fast-moving space, right? So don't assume that there aren't better technologies out there to help you with the process that you're trying to create or the product that you're trying to build. So keep researching. Don't stop that. And once you find other products that kind of is in line with what you're trying to build, they might do something that you like and you enjoy and you think that can be a great value for you to also build and replicate. But it's about, don't try to be too original in your solution. Okay, you find a gap and you realize that, hey, look, I'm going to come out with a complete unique angle and surprise the market. Don't have that mindset. It's not going to work most likely. The key here is don't reinvent the wheel. Just improve the wheel, right? MVP, this part is really important because what you want to do is prioritize selling an MVP, solving that core problem. So the process, again, that you built for your client to get the best end result, you need to create a SaaS or a digital product that solves that one problem. Okay, don't get carried away with shiny object syndrome and start building all these kind of fancy features on your product. Solve one problem really well. That's what we did. When we launched Glorify, we only solved the fact that our editing tool was below standard, market standard. But we solved two things. Just the background removal tool to allow people to put their product in the template and remove the background of their product. And the second thing is we gave niche focused physical product templates. Just those two things. And the rest of the platform, honestly, was below standard, right? So you want to solve the core problem first and get it out to the launch it as an MVP into an early adopter market. And people, if you're launching to an early adopter community, I'm sure June will tell you that people will value your product because of the lucrative offer you gave them. And the vision, of course, is really important. Now let's kind of tackle this, dial this in further. The 1 year goal is really important. If you're not embarrassed by the first version of your product, you've launched too late. This was said by Reid Hoffman, co-founder of LinkedIn. So again, dialing in this idea of not trying to pepper your product with all these fancy features, okay? Be happy with just creating a product that solves that core problem and just get it out to the market. I personally had a problem with this. I'm a perfectionist and I was just not good at letting go of perfecting the product. And luckily I was fortunate enough to have a partner and a team that pushed me over the edge. And it was the best decision we ever made in the company, because if I had it my way, we probably would have been out of business, right? So we launched before it was below standard, at least to my liking, but people still found value in it because the early adopter market is different. They'll value you, and if you're a straightforward founder and you give firsthand value, you handhold every customer through the process, and you're very transparent in how you deal with your customers, especially to an early adopter market. They're going to join you in this journey of fulfilling your vision. Now, this is how Glorify looked like. I don't know if you saw the images earlier of Glorify, but it was completely different. It was last year. I was I've said this publicly as well. I was embarrassed of what Glorify looked like at that time, even down to the user experience. And so I had to kind of overcome that. Now, the other part of this, of building a product, is early on, create a 3-year roadmap. Okay, just plot a timeline of, okay, because you'll get itchy fingers to think about, I want to build all these fancy features. Like I said, shiny object syndrome. It's natural because you want to build this thing into a beast. Solve that core problem, but kind of all these kind of fancy ideas that you're getting, you don't have to build them right away. You can plot them into a nice 3-year roadmap timeline and commit them. Overdream. There's nothing wrong with that, and believe in it. But don't get carried away in terms of trying to build it. Just build the core features, plot a timeline, and prioritize that timeline. And this timeline is going to be iterative. You're going to change the prioritization of the roadmap all the time based on your user feedback and the journey of the product. Go through iterative vision building. Research the market, see what's out there, see what exists in your current solution, and see what's competing against it, or solving another issue that's slightly related to the problem that you're solving, and basically bring that information, bring that data. You're bringing data from competitors, you're bringing data from your user feedback. You want to have a public roadmap where your users are giving you feedback, preferably engaged users. Okay, you might find this in the early adopter market, that a lot of early adopters will buy your tool, but they won't use it, but still give you feedback, right? And it doesn't come from a bad place, but ultimately that feedback is not going to give you true insights. So don't take that feedback. Try to look into your database of users that are actually using the product. Use your dev team to come up with, events and metrics that shows that people are actually using the app, and go to those users, okay? And get feedback from them. Okay, so, again, market, user feedback, and just working with your team to research the idea, then validate that those are the next feature that you want to launch with your team, with your community. Run a webinar with your current user base to see which feature you should prioritize and validate it, apply it, get the dev team to start churning it out. And once it's out, you got to iterate. You got to tighten up a little bit to just make it that 10% better each time, and just keep repeating this process. It's an ongoing process, and I believe me, if you're a builder like me, you'll find fulfillment in this. If you're not, you can hire a business analyst or UX team to do it for you. Advantage here is that, look, when it comes to digital products, when it comes to SaaS products, especially, being lightweight, being a small company, or being a startup, you have the added advantage to keep rebuilding the entire platform, being very iterative without much excess cost, as if it was in the case of launching a physical product, let's say. And in fact, the big titans of our time, if you're competing against some of the bigger titans that have $1 billion valuation, a massive user base, they're not agile. They're very slow moving because they have a massive responsibility to a big user base. So they have no choice but to move slowly, and decision making takes a lot longer. And on top of that, they have a responsibility to their stakeholders, to their investors, etc. So they can't just roll out and spin out features. Everything has to be super calculative. So being really early stage, being nice, small, and nimble, and a nice little team allows you to have this added advantage of being able to rebuild and overhaul the entire product whenever you need, based on what the market demands. So you can see here, this is what we went through. Like, we had a wireframe, we launched like an alpha in 2017, and then we had like an MVP that we sold in just this last year. And then eventually we overhauled that. We took all of our profits from our first launch. We did a lifetime deal. We cut that lifetime deal off, and then over a 9 month period, we put in all the profits to rebuild, glorify again, due to the demands of our end user base, and launch 2.0. Complete overhaul, complete flip in experience. Now, this is the hiring timeline, because you don't want to hire everyone when you're trying to build a product. There's only a few key people, and it comes in a specific order. Of course, you need to hire your developers first. They'll build out the technology for you. The UI and UX part will come in shortly after, because they'll need to take the technology that the devs build and move, position that and build that into a philosophical and a powerful and an intuitive user flow, right? With pristine design. Then as you come near to your pre-launch and your MVP is almost ready, this is something people always miss. Get a bookkeeper, okay? Get an accountant. You can get them for quite affordable, that will basically month to month keep track of all your payment records. Because honestly, the moment you launch, it gets messy. And this is what my partner decided, and it's been one of the, again, biggest decisions, best decision, not biggest, best decisions we did in our company, something I would have overlooked. The bookkeeper will be essentially, all your income that's coming from your launch and all of your expenses will be tracked, so that you become attractive to investors. You will also, be able to track your own expenses and understand what your runway really looks like. And then so you launch, you go into pre-launch, you onboard influencers and affiliates, get an outreach person to talk to people. Talk to June. He's going to help you a lot, of course, with Saastronautics. Get a social media, get designer, get a web developer to kind of build the infrastructure around your launch campaign. Web developer needs to be separate from your app development team, because really the web developers got a slightly different role, where they be building your funnels, your payment processes, etc. And they'll kind of work with the dev team to get that done. And then when you're ready, you can launch an early adopter offer. It could be like a massive discount on your subscription model if you're doing that, or even a lifetime deal. And launch on Product Hunt, of course, to get that real, tech user base to give you feedback and adopt them. And then, of course, talk to Saastronautics. They're going to help you get into the market and get that initial traction and cash flow. Once you get that cash flow in, put that into PPC, because paid ads is great for selling lifetime deals, but it's not great for, positioning your subscription. Honestly, subscription should work on organic ideally, but paid ads is brilliant to fuel organic stuff, but it's not your main kind of strategy here. Paid ads is great to sell lifetime deals, because it's if you get the targeting right, and you're giving a great deal, people love a bargain. And then get a support team. You're going to be doing support in the early stages, because only you and your core team will know the product the best. But we're going to have to very quickly, if you want to, stay sane and not lose your, lose your marbles, you need to hire a support team and onboard them and make them a customer success team that will help your customers get the best out of your application. And then much further down the line, once you got all your pieces in place, you can hire an SEO content focused team, because you want organic to work. It's all about organic ultimately, because you don't want to be paying to get customers. SEO on your blog, content creation, founder-driven content, yourself and your community, keep spinning out that kind of value. Okay, so coming to the end of the session, guys, don't get greedy. Resist cashing in profits till sustainability or 12 months runway. Okay, so you might see like, honestly speaking, 50,000, 100,000, 200,000 over your entire campaign start to rain in, and it sounds like a dream, but it honestly isn't. Because if you're in it for the long term, if you're in it for the long run, to really make this company a massive success, whether you might want to exit the company to another competitor, or you might want to scale the company to a massive evaluation, you have to resist cashing in profits. Okay, and it's easy to do, because if you enjoy working in the product, you can just pay yourself a reasonable salary and still doing what you do best and what you love. Use the cash injection to fuel product growth and development, and really that's ultimately more fulfilling than trying to cash in profits. The validation exercise. Okay, so fears and doubts is something that gets any founder in the beginning, just because the overwhelming competitors in the early stages, like for us, for example, our competitors just literally copied some of our features, right? It happens all the time. I mean, we got inspired by other competitors as well, to be honest, right? To be clear. But, this, for example, one of the things that we launched with when we launched Glorify, we were one of the first design tools that had the background removal tool. And this is one of kind of a, what our user base found the most value in. It kind of positioned us over the other features that we had, right? And very soon after, about 6 months later, we had people coming in and rolling out background removal tools as well. So that kind of made that redundant. So I had this fear in me, like thinking that, okay, can I, my editor tool and the rest of the tools that's in our ecosystem is still now below par, and now we have to compete against these titans, right? Don't worry, don't ever give in to fear, and don't give up, because there's a algorithm that this is something I created for myself, in fact, that helps you to stay in top of your game and believe in your ultimate vision. It goes like this. So if you have fear and doubt, you just ask yourself, is that process you built in your agency for your end client, is that still valuable? If you were to still run your agency today and use that as a process for your end client, will they find value in that, and will they be able to get great results from it, right? If yes, then that's your answer. Just keep building, don't stop building. If no, then create a new and better process. It's not hard to figure out, to crush your competitors by figuring out these little areas that they're missing out, because they'll always be missing out, especially if you carved out a niche in your agency and you're targeting a specific client type. You know that niche better than anyone. And you'll find that most SaaS companies, they try to they come out a lot broader, right? So I do recommend focusing on a niche like we've done. We've focused on e-commerce, but that doesn't necessarily exclude other niches either, because we're seeing digital product entrepreneurs use us, service-based, and it's the same for other tools. If you look at Figma, for example, a great big company, they only focus, their main core value is giving a design tool to build interfaces, right? Mobile apps and web applications. But that doesn't exclude other people that want to create documents, ad creatives. We use it to create storyboards. It has a much bigger spectrum than you'd think. So always believe that you can take your focus on a niche, and in the process of creating a better process for your product, look at your competitors, analyze them, and figure out, okay, where are the gaps that exist, and there will be gaps. Trust me. In the case of Glorify, I realized that, okay, people have the background removal tool, But we need to really focus and dial in on a niche. We got to bring loads of niche oriented physical product templates, because we don't want people to endlessly scroll looking for templates that are that most likely won't be a match for them like the other tools. We want to serve them the right template for the perfect niche that they're in. For example, we realize that, entrepreneurs, design is just pretty stuff, but we need to bring in the analytic tools into Glorify so that I can analyze the results of the designs that bring them that are brought into their business. So these are the kind of ideas that we believed in, and we're putting a lot of fuel into to take our product to the next level. It's an ongoing journey, guys. It doesn't stop, right? So love the journey, not the outcome. Okay, if you create this amazing vision for yourself, and you'll be looking at your roadmap sometimes thinking, one day, and you're looking at this kind of top of the Everest goal. Yes, have your eye on the goal, but be present. That's fine. Don't be overwhelmed by the entire mountain that you need to climb. Just have your eye on it and be present in the moment and enjoy that journey, right? And if you can be present and enjoying the journey and the process more than anything, you'll have resilience and you'll have patience to keep building, right? It's all about loving the process, not the outcome. Never stop, be a machine. Know that the underdogs can move faster and smarter than slow-moving titans. I'm a big fan of some of these companies here, a variety of companies here. ClickUp, these recently did a big raise. I can't remember, but the Series B, phenomenal company, because we use them internally. I love their tool. And, in the midst of titans like Asana, like, Monday.com, did a lot of aggressive campaigning back then. They've carved out an entire user base for themselves. They carved out a market share, right? It just goes to show that there's never short of technology to be improved, right? And Razer, again, Razer, think about Razer, for example. They're a computer product. There's hundreds of top-notch brands that sell the same thing. Literally, I mean, if you look at Razer, it's the same as any other machine, to be honest. Same specs, it might have better graphics cards to help with gaming and stuff like that. But ultimately, they've carved out a brand because of the aesthetic, and they built it on that. But not more than that as well, they've started tapping into the creative niche as well. They used to be a games-focused computing product, but now they're slowly carving a name for them in the creative industry, because more and more gamers are becoming creative people as well, right? Producing content. So they've managed to position that really well. So much so that in London, where I live, I'm seeing retail stores open up for Razer now, which is crazy, where a lot of other stores are actually closing down, which is insane. Tenzing, guys, this, sorry, I have to flash this on screen, because if you don't know what Tenzing is, go buy yourself a crate of Tenzing. It's a natural energy drink. It's made out of, green coffee, guarana, green tea, acerola, and lemon juice, Himalayan rock salt, beet sugar, right? I'm a massive big fan because it's got a phenomenal story behind it. For example, the founder of Tenzing is an ex-marketer of Red Bull. He realized, working Red Bull, that the ingredients are destructive for the human being, right? The human spirit. It's just not healthy. So he went on a mission to solve and find create a product that is healthy for customers, and more than anything, also the ability to basically, he took all these ingredients, and the ingredients have an amazing story as well. What he's done here is he's basically taken the ingredients from a tribes people called the Sherpas. The Sherpas are a native people from the Himalayas, and they've built this brew. They created this brew that they use for generations to use as a way to fuel their energy to climb the Himalayas and all the way up to the Everest. So the founder of Tenzing basically took this brew and made it into a carbonated drink called Tenzing. And Tenzing is actually named after one of the most important tribes members of the Sherpas. He's passed away now, but it's named after one of the Sherpas himself. So it's a phenomenal story, right? And they've been getting a lot of traction recently, and being a key competitor against Red Bull. So this goes to show, guys, that underdogs can move faster and smarter than the slow-moving titans. That is it, guys. We're at the end of the presentation. I hope you guys have found value in that. And yeah, I'd love to take any questions, or any thoughts shared would be great.
Oh, wow. Wow, I don't know where to start. That blew my mind. I don't know where to start. I took notes myself. I know a lot of people were taking notes. We have a lot of questions coming up. So yeah, everyone that's watching, if you have any questions for Omar, leave them in the comments. We'll start reading them out. While we're waiting for those comments, I'm just gonna look through my notes really quick and make some comments myself, because there was just so much in there. I don't even know where to start. I guess we'll go backwards. Tenzing, really cool story. I didn't know what that I knew the other two, of course, ClickUp and Razer. But Tenzing, I want to see if I can source that or find that somewhere here. I got to try that out.
Get it, man, bro. I'll tell you something. I'm addicted to this stuff, right? Little fun fact about me, by the way. I used to be a hippie, right? So back in the day,
right here. Same here, buddy.
Okay, cool. So I mean, I used to hop festival to festival, and I used to go to like a lot of psychedelic festivals. To be honest,
yeah.
So I was really into, like, I don't know if you're familiar with psytrance and stuff like that,
course,
right?
very.
Okay, no way. That's crazy.
Yeah.
That's insane, man. So yeah, I mean, look, I kind of quit that life a few years ago because you know, I believe that hippies are actually hippie crits, right? They're not really. What I noticed is that they have this great philosophy of, you know, saving the world and being love and nature, but they actually destroy nature in the process, right? Just dump these massive stereo systems, DJ decks, and like, you know, just beer cans and you know, just chaos everywhere, right? And I came out of that life, and you know, I just, you know, I quit everything that was around that life. And over time, I realized that I found fulfillment in many things, and this is a great replacement for many desires that I had.
That's so cool. I mean, I had no idea. I feel like, you know, if we ever met several years ago, we would have had a lot of fun too.
Yeah, probably.
Yeah, we'll talk about that separately. But awesome. I'm learning so much about you and about, because as well, I'm also an agency owner. Small agency owner, but we've grown very fast. But a lot of the points you brought up, because you've also had the same history, it is so tiring, really stressful. Oh, I ran out of batteries from one of my lights. Really tiring. And let me just look through my notes really quick. Yeah, the first point you brought up, retainers are not easy. It's such a grind. And the fact that we're on trial, like in a subtle way, like you said, all of our clients are testing us month by month, even with the 12-month retainer, and that is really stressful. And then of course I have Saastronautics, and you said don't treat your agency as a side product, and that's also how I think about anything I do. I just dive, you know, I go balls deep in it, and it's been just really difficult working 18 hours a day. I don't see my kids. I stay at home. I live at home. I work at home to be with my kids, but I see them like 30 minutes a day. And like, I'm gonna throw it out there, but every night when I go downstairs and I eat my dinner in the dark, my dinner's cold, my wife's sleeping, my kids are sleeping, I'm eating there crying. I'm dead serious. Yeah, really stressful. So I need to find a way to fix that. And this presentation has been super meaningful to me and really powerful. And we have some questions coming in. Yeah, thank you so much, Omar. And on your birthday too, man. So thank you so much. Yeah, let's see here.
Thanks for inviting me.
Oh yeah, absolutely. We were dying to get you on because I saw some of the other lives you did, even when you were doing the LTD and just talking about Glorify and stuff like that. You're just a brilliant speaker. I mean, everyone we've had on the Saastrotalks have been brilliant speakers, but today, your presentation, how do you? It's just you're just shooting out bullets.
Thanks a lot, man.
No water, no water breaks in between. Yeah, really inspiring stories.
Actually,
yeah.
you just reminded me.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm gonna take a quick water break too. But yeah, don't treat it like a side project. Treat it like another client. Every point I can relate to, man. I feel like, and then the fact that you were a hippie as well and doing all that, I feel like I'm following in your footsteps. Don't try to be too original.
Yeah. I mean, look, the thing I would just say to the agency thing, because I'll tell you one thing that I to this day haven't solved. This whole, because I'm married, I've got my kid as well, and it's just not easy. When you take the entrepreneurial life, it's just one of the sacrifices you have to make is time and balance that. And to be honest, if anyone has the answer to that, then I'd love to hear it, because I just haven't. I've interviewed other entrepreneurs in my podcast, and the closest answer I've come to was Danny Carlson, who, to be fair, he's not married, he doesn't have a child yet. You know? So that makes a big difference. But he is very someone that is, from my experience with him, is very strict with his schedule. So much so that in the podcast, if he's running late for his next meeting, he'll be like, "Okay, guys, I got to cut the podcast short. I need to get to my next meeting in mid podcast." Right. So is that so I think so I do think it's an ongoing. Everyone has their own strategy to manage time. And it's just an ongoing kind of improvement. I don't think there's any hard fixed answer, and that's just something that builds with discipline and really personalized to your journey. That's the honest truth, I think.
Absolutely. Yeah. And I'm also, I hope I find someone that can teach me that too. But what I've done recently, because I'm having a difficult time doing anything. And also actually right now, I have a client meeting going on. I just couldn't make it, so I asked someone from my team. I didn't want to miss this, so I asked someone from my team to take it. And then the perfectionism, same way. Don't try to be too original. Take inspiration, then diverge and improve. That's kind of what we do, what I like to do. Not try to reinvent the wheel. There's a lot of inspiration out there. There's a lot of people that did it first and failed. You can learn from their mistakes. A lot of titans out there that have done it and succeeded, and you can learn from their success as well. And then I can keep going. There's so much I want to talk about, but let me go through some of these questions because I think a lot of people will be waiting. Everyone's saying happy birthday. Parker out there, Parker.
Thanks,
also,
guys.
Fem on our team. A lot of people out there. Let me get to the questions here. Give me a quick second. Parker's funny. Let's see. Here's one from Parker actually. For digital products, excuse me, because we are interested in that as well as a next step in our journey. How to minimize or control control reselling the licensed assets. Did you understand that part? Yeah.
Yeah. You know what? I've worked with different e-learning companies, and honestly, the licensing part truly and really is built. And so I'm going to assume when you're talking about digital products, are you talking about e-learning or software? I'd like to hear about that part. But let's just talk about e-learning for the time being. And so e-learning already kind of allows you to position yourself as an authority. So it's really, you don't need to be strict in your licensing because you are the brand and you are the authority. And I've worked with e-learning clients, and usually that's what builds that kind of loyal customer base that you don't have to worry about, ultimately, when it comes to e-learning, what you can't control is people will steal your content and repurpose it, right? And that happens, and will try to position themselves as an expert. And hence why a core part of my discussion today was trying to refine, define, and document your process, right? Because if you can define your process, then it becomes yours. And that's what we've done to ourselves. If I ever see the product image formula somewhere else, it's not going to hurt me, but I'll at least know that, we are the ones that built that, and the only kind of humble request that I'll have is someone uses the product image strategy formula. It's great if they use it, but just to give us a mention. That's just a kind request. If they don't, it's fine. And to be honest, this is the same attitude I've seen from some of the other great innovators and pioneers of other processes. Like I said, Anthony Yell from Razorfish. Again. I would say, June, if you're running an agency, you should check what they do at Razorfish, because they've been going for 20 years. They were responsible for MySpace, for example, back then, and stuff like that, right? I have a podcast with one of their creative directors on the Path to Glory show with Jose Caballero. He used to work for Razorfish during the .com boom. And yeah, just to go back to him, sorry, I lost my train of thought. It was... what was I talking about? The
e-learning, licensing.
Yes, licensing. Yeah. So exactly. Thank you there. So when it comes to licensing, again, they created a process called Stylescapes, right? Stylescapes is a beautiful way of basically presenting your brands to your end clients. It dictates a philosophy of creating this very kind of horizontal large panel that you bring into your client meeting when you're presenting a brand. And it has this layout where you go from typography to web layout to image philosophy, etc., in a very specific stylized form. And what you do in the Stylescape process, you create 3 Stylescapes: a spicy one, a medium one, and a toned down one, right? So basically different aesthetics of the brand. Okay, if you were to go, basically the spicy one will be like a brand concept for the business. that is really kind of thinking outside the box and doing something that scares you. The medium one is trying to stay a little bit in the safety zone, and the calm and toned down one is just staying really minimalized in terms of the brand expression. And you go out there with the client, and they can, because ultimately when you're presenting a brand strategy to your client, you can't decide if you show them one or two options. They need at least three options to make, knowing what you don't want is just as important as knowing what you want, because you need that comparison to realize, okay, truth, right? So this is the process that Razorfish pioneered and brought out to the public. And now it's they've made, like Jose Caballero, one of the employees there, has made that entire process popularized, and everyone knows it. And it's just a great. I've used it with my clients, and it allows me to position myself much higher. So my point being is that create your process, define it, and take ownership of it. But just don't be so strict in restricting other people from using it, because that's also good. Believe me, the people that are sincere and honest will trace that back to you and give credit. Like I'm giving credit now to Razorfish for the Stylescapes. So you can't be so restrictive in the licensing of your e-learning digital product. Just build your authority around it. The second thing I would say for software, there is no way, from what I've discovered, to truly patent your software if you're launching it, to license it in that way. So just to understand the question, can you just repeat the question again, just so if I've got context for software?
Yes.
Minimize control, resell the license as asset. Okay, minimize the control, resell the license asset. So like, as in, so other people could sell it, resell the product? Is that the question?
He might be. And Parker, if you're still here, I think he is. Can you clarify? And I'll get to it, or I have it open on my mobile as well. So let us know. He might be referring to reselling licenses, for example, because we're in the LTD space, reselling lifetime deals, maybe.
Okay, so yeah, I mean that's again for software. Again, like I personally haven't put so much restriction on people reselling their licenses. Because ultimately, if for any reason they've decided that they need to shelf it and they find that someone else has more value, then why not resell it? That's just my philosophy. I don't know if it's right and wrong, honestly, but I'd rather someone use it. If they're not using it and they're not finding value, that's great. They should give it to someone else. So honestly, at Glorify, at least, we're not strict about that.
Yeah, no, I think I fall in. I mean, but I'm not a product owner. I'm not a creator, but. I do feel the same way as a user, and I do bring it up with a lot of the founders we come to. It's also like, why waste your time, or not, I mean, not waste your time, but why focus on this when it's better to focus on growing the business or developing the product? I just feel there's better places to put your resources too, your time and resources too. Okay.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And Parker,
so I want to, if you don't mind me, June, I just want to ask I want to add a little bit more, kind of pepper that with a bit more insight, because look, I always look at the bigger companies that have done it before, right? And take for instance Notion, right? And I watched a podcast with Notion's head of marketing, and Notion has got massive success. They're $1 billion plus valuation company, and 10 million user base. Like they've done it, and whatever they've done is authentic as well, right? We can rely on them as a case study. And the marketer themselves said in their early adopter phase, they weren't so strict with their brand and how people use their product, right? Because in the early stages, you can't be so strict in how people promote you, like your affiliates, how people present your product to the end user. So much so that they didn't even made any kind of public restrictions on their brand guidelines, that all the early adopters, if they're being an affiliate or being an affiliate or someone that was your evangelist, they would openly just tell them to use their brand in however they like. So much so that people ended up creating like an anime character for Notion called Notio, right? So they didn't like more bigger companies will restrict that kind of those kind of communities from doing things like that, because they have tighter brand guidelines, for instance, right? But Notion just went straight in and said, look, use the brand however you like. And so much so that when they created the Notio character, the marketer said that, hey, look, print me some T-shirts of the Notio. I'd love the team to have it, So you got to be open in the beginning. You can't have this like defensive state of mind. It doesn't work.
Great point. Parker has another question. We're going to zoom through it because I think there's a lot of pending questions, and I think there's a lot of people waiting for the answers. So, Parker has another question because we are also thinking about building our own product sometime soon. Do you think for our own product, and this is referring to, because we have an agency or we have Saastronautics, better to use the same company or under the agency name, or create a brand or under a new brand and company?
Yeah, that's a really good question. For me, guys, I'm a I've been doing brand strategy for several years now. Honestly, redo your brand strategy for whatever value proposition you're offering. Okay, it has to make sense. I've seen all kinds of similar strategies with other SaaS companies where they had an agency and they moved and spun out a product with a very similar name. And I get it. They have sentiments and attachment to their agency name, right? But ultimately, SaaS marketing or product marketing needs to relate to the end user. And so doing a brand strategy, there's so many frameworks from brand strategy. I recommend checking out the Future. Sorry, excuse me. Chris Doe's framework, the core framework. Philip Van Dusen is great at brand strategy. He's got a program there. But any business owner can take that and adopt them themselves and go through the framework and discover who they are, who their audience is, and what product they're delivering to the end user. And based on that, they can come up with a name that fits, right? I had actually one of my best friends, he's a brand strategist as well. And so we brainstormed together about Glorify. And we came up with Glorify because ultimately the idea and the philosophy is for entrepreneurs to glorify their products, right? Be it physical or digital, and make their product offerings more glorious, So it was the perfect fit. Just use brand strategy to create an appropriate targeted name. That's what I would say.
All right, good advice, good advice. And I think I agree with you there. Maybe Parker will too, especially after this presentation. Of course, this question was going to come out or come up. Glorify Ltd. Is it still live? Is it still out there?
Yes.
Oh,
okay.
Yeah.
So let me tell you a little bit about that. So look, with LTDs, there's so many different models of LTDs. Some people, launch for a very short amount of time. Some people go long. We've been as a company knocked for having prolonged the LTDs often. But ultimately, what we've decided, a lot of people that do knock us for having a long-term LTD doesn't necessarily have any insight to what's going on behind the scenes in terms of our cash flow, our business, our revenue generation, and what our trajectory looks like, and even their investment opportunities, right? So you'll find a lot of claims that we've got an LTD out there, but then people worry like, oh, are they going to are they sustainable? Do they need to? We don't actually need to live off LTD cash necessarily. It just gives us a good, comfortable runway, right? To kind of maintain, more than anything, to spearhead the product development to where we want to hit it, right? It's all about the roadmap for us, because if you build on the roadmap, we'll be able to really truly build the product that we envision. If we cut out LTDs, basically we'll have to rely on organic and subscription, which will only be sustainable for our team and basically have a much slower trajectory. That being said, yes, we have an LTD. We did one last year for 6 months. We closed that. We took all of the profits, like I said in the presentation, put that into 2.0. And now just since Black Friday, we've had an LTD. Nice. We launched the Black Friday LTD was public, right? So for about 2 months. And then come the new year, we've kind of made it in-app private, right? So we kind of, if you come into Glorify and you're a new user, you'll see LTD opportunities that's available to you. But if you're a past user or you've already gone into a subscription, you might not necessarily get that opportunity. Okay. So we're only opening it up for kind of new users. So yeah, do check it out if you're interested. We do have plans to close it, hopefully in the next month or so, because in line with our next feature release, which is mockups. So mockups will be releasing at the end of February. And when we launch mockups, we want to kind of do an aggressive campaign. We're quite aggressive with our campaign, shamelessly, I'll admit, by the end of February. So
awesome. So I left a link in there. Unless you've already paid for a subscription, you might not see it. But I don't know if that's
June.
Right
that link. Yeah, I don't know where that link's come from. That's the Black Friday one, but you can use that, I think.
Okay.
But what I could do is help you with the actual link, just in case, because I know that's an old one. So let me get that out for you guys.
All right.
Actually, June, do you have a link that you have that's validated by you guys?
Yeah, I haven't been able to check it myself, but one of my friends has sent
Right.
me this and said, "Hey, it's still live." That's what.
Okay.
So I asked that question. But anyone
Right.
watching in that wants to find out about it, maybe right after the call, just shoot me the message, or I will or post it in this thread, so that more people can see it. All right. So
Perfect.
we have a few more questions. People are waiting for the answers too. I'm going to scroll down a little bit. Let me just find them. Here's one. And for some reason, I can't get it. Oh, here we go. I love the. Okay. I can't get this one on the screen for some reason. How about the funding of Glorify to build products SaaS from an agency? We still need to invest a lot of money. How do we get investors to help build this new product? Did you guys get funding, by the way, or was it through
Yeah.
the? Okay.
Yeah, so our trajectory was as follows. Honestly, guys, I'm not going to lie here. We're very much hand to mouth, right? When we're an agency, it wasn't like this big dream or anything like that. We were sustainable. We had great clients that paid us every our entire overhead, but what the process looked a bit like this. So we had our agency and we'd take at least 10% of the profits. And honestly, it's also finding talent that is really affordable. You can't go and get top-notch talent in the beginning. But what's great is that if you hire out tech people that are in their infancy and starting out, you can get it for a great deal. And on top of that, as they grow, you'll find out that just their area of experience and growth grows with you, and they'll become phenomenal tech people by the end of it. We haven't changed our developers because they've just grown with us and they've just added so much value, And so our CTO has been the same since day one.
Nice.
But yeah, it is just managing your budget. Take 10%, find talent that's affordable, talent that's in its infancy, but with the energy and enthusiasm to grow with you, sell the vision, of course. And so every person that like one of my good friends is a creative director in our team, right? And his rates are really high. He charges $100 an hour. That's his general rate. I got him to $15 an hour because we honestly speaking, because not only are we good friends and we have a great relationship, but also he knows the vision of the company and he believes in it, right? So in the early stages for a SaaS company, it's all about selling the vision, honestly, to the team members you're on board and getting the best deal possible and keeping overheads low. In terms of funding, I've been pitching everywhere. Me and my partner is mainly kind of the business guru, mogul of the company, and he's much more senior to me, so he's been hustling investment. Initially, we didn't need investment because we went and did the early adopter deal, and so if you do an early adopter deal and your product has a great MVP offering, people will buy it, and you can cash flow your product. We cash flow just from LTD 12 months runway, right?
Oh wow.
It was really risky, honestly, man. Like just before we launched product Glorify, I had no idea what was going to happen, and we literally fired most of our clients and jumped in it deep, kind of Tony Robbins style, burn the ship, right? And we had literally $10,000 of worth in runway, which is barely anything to support the 7 people team that we had. It was just, and so we knew that we'll burn out in a month, but we thought, let's just get into market and see. Worst case scenario, we had some kind of fallback scenarios of different clients, and I was ready to just move, take my family and move to my parents' house if I had to, if it really came to that. So I was very optimistic. So we went to market, and lo and behold, man, we hit it hard with Product Hunt. We got to we were generating $100,000 in our first month, and so that cash seed funded the company, and we didn't stop by LTD because we knew that seed funding is everything, and if that means that I'm going to give away lifetime licenses for that to, again, a group of committed users that's going to give me that insight and feedback, of course, that's lots of value for the company, even though that becomes unsustainable in, let's say, 2 years. I don't think, I don't think a lifetime deal is going to make your company, it doesn't catch up in terms of the cost in 1 year or 6 months or anything like that, because generally speaking, you're selling, the way I evaluate lifetime deals is take benchmark 5 years of your product in subscription and do a 90% discount. Even that discount, let's say it's $100, that $100 per customer is will give you easily a sustainability of that one customer for 3 years, honestly speaking. So look at it that way and maintain your overheads. Then the year 2 came along. We did, like I said, spend all our profits to rebuild and glorify from the ground up. We needed an investment because we were running low on cash. And, Haroon, my partner there, is a beast when it comes to that. So he went there hustling early stage investors, angel investors, and we've been able to seed fund the company. And think about this, guys. Look, if once you're past your MVP stage and you've done 1 year, right? And most likely with your early adopter phase, you're going to roll out crazy improvements and, areas of innovation and stuff like that, and make a really, really powerful product. By year 2, if you're aggressive in, like I said in my presentation, iterative vision building and constantly iterating on the product throughout the entire process and working closely with your dev team, you'll find that by the end of the process, you will have this phenomenal product and it'll be much more investable. And that's the feedback we've been getting. Year 2, people are looking at us like, just compare our product hunt listings. I'll give you this exercise for you to see what year 1 and year 2 looks like. Look at year 1 when we launched product glorified 0.1 and look at 2.0. The differences are beyond words, and anyone can make that happen.
No, thank you for that. Yeah, and we're trying to do the same thing, or I'm trying to do the same thing. So we're hiring, talent in its infancy, plans to grow together. We have, bonuses and things set up so that we do actually grow together. And then speaking about your friend who is, extremely, professional, an expert in the field, but also very high priced, of course. I also have a friend, Zach. I hope you're watching. Zach is a friend, also a hippie, just coming out of that phase now, and realizing also a little bit, but big on psytrance and all that. Yeah, and but yeah, he's from a bloodline of writers, right? Like up to his great grandparents. Everyone in his family is writer. He's our content director, and again, we brought him down too because his pricing is very, very high per month. But we were able, because we're good friends. We met in actually Laos while we were traveling, and we had a lot of fun there together, and now we're working together. So that's pretty crazy. But yeah, I definitely agree with you, and it's really exciting to hear or get my ideas or my visions or my plans or my strategies validated by somebody like you who's already many years ahead of me. So that's really cool. Yeah, I feel like we're on the right track.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm glad you think that, Jun. And of course, you got a great platform to firstly market your own product and other people's products, which is awesome. And I think you're going to have that added advantage, which is powerful. So definitely leverage that. And I would say that, one of the things I've learned over the years of the early adopter community is that there's a lot of opinions on how you market, how aggressive you should do, how frequent your email campaigns should be, how long you should do your lifetime deal for. And people come up with their own thought, but there's no Bible and rule book on how these things should. There's, I guess, a general level ethos that you don't claim things that are untrue. That's the first level. I think that's just, basic, right? I think that's just common sense. You don't market something, you don't claim or market something that's just untrue or false. And for me, that's the basis. Everything else, it does depend on your circumstances in your business, to be honest. So maybe 3 months lifetime deal, maybe 6 months. I've seen a company do permanent lifetime deals. There's a company that does a project management tool, Infinity, for example. They've been doing 24/7 lifetime deals, and that's great if that's sustainable for them and it allows them to build on their roadmap and to eventually get into sustainability. That's a business choice. So don't listen to the public, but treat them with respect and acknowledgement, for sure. With our user base, for example, when we went public, you'll find a lot of hecklers and you'll find people that are sincere, giving you good advice. And I will always approach them the same way and kind of be sincere to them and listen, acknowledge, but embrace and pivot. Was a technique I learned from Chris Do, is that, if you have people that are a little bit harsher than usual, you just embrace their opinion, because there's always going to be some level of truth in their opinion, and empathize with them, embrace with empathy, and then pivot their opinion. Funny enough, I had a slide kind of in this point, but maybe you guys can see it on the deck. I actually copied a conversation between a heckler and my response, right? And that's actually on the slide in my deck. So once you guys get that, you can have a look at that. But that's the key component of basically embrace and pivot.
Yeah, and I'm a big fan of Christo as well. Here we go. Who is this? Let's see. Rahim, thank you. Number one, how do you build trust with the developer if they're working from a remote area And number two, how to know how much to pay a developer during development of the product.
Yeah, that's a really good question. That is how much do you need? Okay. Okay. So the trust factor, right? Look, when you're starting out, you're building an MVP. So you just have to jump in the deep end. And first of all, do your due diligence. I think, if you're hiring, we love to hire on Upwork because you can see their track record, right? Simply, or any other site that has a track record of, their scores and reviews, etc. The second component of that is, of course, even with a great track record, you never know. Every engagement is different, right? And so the way you vet that is just like, I do two things in my hiring process with anyone is that when I send a job description, I give them a massive description so I know they have the patience to read every single detail in line. Don't come short. Don't empathize on making it easy for the person in terms of understanding your job description. Make it complicated if you have to, right? Because you'll see if they really, really want this opportunity. The second component to that is I asked them, and I learned this from another entrepreneur, is that ask them to describe the project in their own words. This is what you're going to truly understand if they really get what they're doing, right? And then that's the first trust factor. The reviews, the ability to review your task as well and come up with an appropriate perspective of what you require from them. And then that initial engagement, you'll know intuitively. Like I think humans just use intuition more than anything, because as you work together and you see timelines and you see progress, you can measure those things out. Simple goal building. And I will say one thing: like most developers I have made, they're less like, I haven't met many developers that are like, yeah, we can do this, versus being more skeptical. Like, I'm not sure this will work. I'll have to go and check it out, and I don't know if the technology supports it, right? As a founder, you have to always be like, I'm going to make this happen, and you can make it happen too. You got to enforce that in developer. And honestly, like, I'll tell you one thing: our development team, they've been massive problem solvers, but they've always been skeptical first. They'd be like, I don't know if this technology exists. I don't think we can make it happen. And so what we do is we just still empower them, and we just say, look, we need to make it happen. Otherwise, we're not going to carry an impact in the market. I don't give them an option anymore. I used to be a bit more empathetic and be like, all right, so okay, maybe the technology doesn't exist. I get it. Okay, so maybe we need to find another expert that can support us, right? That helps sometimes, because they don't want to undervalue their service. But the second component of that is that you just don't give them a choice. Now we don't give them such a choice. And over a year, you'll realize that they become better and better problem solvers, that nothing becomes impossible eventually, right? One of the key components to this, guys, that whatever technology framework you're using, you as a product owner needs to be familiar with that. I don't know jack about development, right? I'm not a developer, I'm a designer. But I know the framework that our product is built on. Glorify, for instance, is built on Fabric.js, right? It's a canvas library that's public, and a lot of design applications are built on the same library. So I know that I can look at a competitor that I've discovered that is 100% Fabric.js as well. And I know 100%, doesn't matter what happens, even if there's some kind of crazy custom code going on in this framework, we can still figure it out, using that competitor as a reference point, right? So definitely find a competitor that has the same code framework as you, and always use that competitor as an excuse that the developer can build it. Like, look, like I do it all the time. I'm like, Ludus is doing it. Like, Ludus is a great app that I love and enjoy. They're not a direct competitor of us because they're a presentation tool, but they're built on the same framework. So I always say, like, guys, Ludus can do this feature. And then they like, every time they're skeptical, I just throw that out there. Oh, Ludus is doing, so we can do it.
I love that. I'm laughing so much because I've run into the same things. Oh, that's funny. All right.
Yeah.
Okay, so Dev Rathor, happy birthday, Omar. Really fantastic presentation. Learned truly amazing things from Omar. And yes, happy birthday, Omar, again. A lot of those. I can't get everyone on the screen. I have another one here. Suleiman. Sorry if I pronounced your name incorrectly. Also says happy birthday. And let me get that on the screen. What's the number one lesson you learned from this journey? And what would you do different if you started all over again? I love this
Okay,
question,
yeah,
man.
that's a really good question. Yeah. Look, mistakes are really important in the process, and we have made mistakes. There's no doubt about that. And if you don't make mistakes, you grow. So don't necessarily, and it's good to learn from other people's mistakes, but don't knock yourself hard if you make mistakes. We've made really bad business choices in terms of hiring, in terms of where we spent our money, and lost money in the process or lost time, right? Some of the mistakes I've made was one of the things I did was empowered employees too early because I'm very empathetic. I've been an I've been an employee
Goodness.
myself,
Yeah.
and I've been working under people, so I have that empathy because I've had really crappy bosses in the past that are very egotistical, very ostentatious. Have low amount of EQ, emotional intelligence, to deal with their employees, and I know that there's a metric that says the best CEOs are the ones that have the biggest level of emotional intelligence, right? But the factor about emotional intelligence doesn't mean that you treat everyone on a pedestal, right? And that's the mistake I made. Like, I put everyone on a pedestal, right? Like, this guy's the bomb, right? You got to find a balance. It's good to praise and it's good to acknowledge great efforts. You have to do that. But you don't put people on a pedestal, because what I did was I put individuals in a pedestal, and over time they built an authority for themselves in the company, and that gave them a few syndromes that I've detected, right? One is, me and my partner have detected management syndrome, right? Is one thing that they become a manager and they don't like to get their hands dirty. Okay. If you as the founder are getting your hands dirty in building this product, then everyone on the team has to get their damn hands dirty. Okay. There's no choice, right? And so always show that and enforce that. It doesn't have to be, obviously you don't have to be a dictator, but just show people that, and just through Slack and communication and engagement and meetings, that, all right, guys, I'm going to handle this, you handle this, so that they know that your hands are getting dirty, and you'll have no choice, because in the early stages, that's how it is, right? You, as a founder, you will be, as a CEO, you have the biggest risk, and naturally, you're going to be getting your hands dirty in the process. But so this is one problem I made. I put people on a pedestal. They had managerial syndrome. I've had other issues that I wish I detected early in some people. For example, what I call fake Superman syndrome, which is when an employee has the ability, they put in a lot of power, a lot of effort one day, they become a Superman, and not one day, but the entire rest of the week, they're like burnt out, right? So honestly speaking, like, when it comes to people like that, even if it's another different timeline, so let's say someone who's really great for 1 month, but the rest of the 6-month trajectory, they use their greatness for 1 month as an excuse to be crap or average for the rest of the 6 months, right? You gotta keep a keen eye on those people, and your company does not deserve that. I would rather have someone that is an average player throughout the year than have someone that is a Superman on 1 day or 1 month and give me, jack for the rest of the year, So just pay. So these are the mistakes I made, and honestly, some of these individuals ended up leaving the company because of this kind of attitude, very respectfully, and mutually. But ever since, the hiring process has been empowered, because I know I've learned these lessons, So I'd say hiring is usually your biggest risk. Another thing is that, if you have partners, you gotta have great transparency and rapport with your partners. Okay, you need to be brothers in arms, right? And that's how me and my partner act, right? And your partner is gonna make mistakes, and you as a co-founder as well, it's gonna make mistakes, right? Just don't put a lot of blame and so much like, you naturally, as a partner, you're accountable, and you should be forthcoming towards each other, but at the same time, you shouldn't hold people at a stick for past mistakes. Everyone makes mistakes through the process, and don't have so much resentment towards your co-founders and partners for making a mistake, and you expect the same attitude towards you, right? Because it's a very stressful and it's fulfilling and exciting, but also it has a certain amount of stress, and in the process you make mistakes. Like, I give an example, like, very recently I made a mistake in scaling up Intercom, which led to a massive bill on Intercom, and I forgot to scale it down in time, and that took a bit of a financial hit, because Intercom can scale up to $5,000 to $10,000, if you have too many contacts. And so that was on me, you know. And so I made a resolution to never make that, but that was my responsibility. But my partner is grateful. I'm grateful enough to have a partner that doesn't hold resentment, ongoing resentment, or ongoing resentment towards that, right? In the same way, I've done the same to him. You know, he's made mistakes in the past, and I don't hold ongoing resentment towards him, right? Yeah. So and also another thing is, try your best. You might get excited in the first couple of months, like I said, with the cash flow coming in. If you do an early adopter launch, use that cash wisely. Don't pay yourself massive profits. Give yourself a reasonable salary that sustains yourself and supports your lifestyle. But also make sure you're hiring. You know, how many people you hire. Your overheads needs to be important, because one mistake we made was that we hired on steroids in the beginning, right? And we realized that it became very unsustainable very quick. Before we knew it, our overhead hit like $20,000, $30,000, you know, way too early. And so this is the kind of things that you need to look out for. But yeah, but apart from that, guys, these are some of the mistakes I made. Apart from that, make mistakes, you know? Oh, sorry. Just one last thing. User experience and user UX. Okay. You need, honestly speaking, look, you need a phenomenal team in UX and UI. Okay. Someone that can create a scalable system. Okay. Not just front-facing design that's just pretty. Okay. The components, and I'll share some screenshots later after the talk, but the components of our Figma file right now, like we had a UI designer previously, but he didn't know how to systemize the design system of your user interface, right? If you're in the game of building a software, your software needs to be scalable, iterative. You're going to launch new features, and it's going to be an ever-evolving product. If you want to make it ever-evolving, you need systems in place to make that really easy, from design to execution in the design and building out the feature in design, from design to front end and front end to development, right? And believe me, that's not going to happen if your UI designer is not got the right discipline to create systems. And design systems look like this. You create core components, right? The baseline components and stylized components. That style and components, like the level of your shadow, the colors, the button style, etc., will be translated into all of your user interface screens, right? So much so that if you change a button in the core component, it changes throughout the entire ecosystem, your application ecosystem. That's the level of design level that you need. What we had, unfortunately, in the beginning was a UI designer that created loose components, which ended up, you know, if we had to change one button, we had to change all the buttons across our entire application. It was a massive waste of time. But now we went back and refactored everything. We had to do an overhaul, refactor all of our user interface, and create this system where, you know, core components are connected to all the entire screens. And therefore, if you change anything in the core components, it automatically changes everywhere. That's another very important advice, to get someone that understands scalable user interface design.
Just wow. This is like, well, number one, I feel so connected to you. I'm not where you are today, but everything you just said, I can relate to so much. And actually, some of the mistakes that you just said you made, looking at myself right now and thinking about what you're saying, I'm doing right now as well. So, you know, putting people on a pedestal, hiring too many people, I'm going through all that right now. So this is like, I feel like this is a one-on-one just for me. I don't know how many people are. This is just like me and you chatting.
Yeah.
So, wow. Okay.
Yeah. Hiring is always ROI. Like if you're getting an ROI from the person, then it makes sense. But if they're there and they're not bringing a specific metric to your company, then it's not worth it. You know, so that's the simple way of analyzing that part.
Absolutely. I'm just gonna run through. I think because there's still a few people asking questions.
Look, I'll tell you one thing, June. I'm spoiled for time, so don't worry about my time so much. And we can answer the questions in your own time.
Yeah. Okay, so we have. Hello, Omar Farook, sir. Happy birthday, first of all. Having great experience with Glorify app. He's a happy user, but he's still waiting for some templates for digital products and services.
Okay, let me guess. This is Chaitanya. What's his name? Chaitanya?
Oh, yeah. Listen, this guy knows his users, and he has 40,000.
Yeah, the thing is, the power users always make themselves very accessible and hard to forget, because they keep prodding me with messages, right? Sorry if I'm butchering your name. I do apologize. Chaitanya, right? Yeah. We've had discussions before, and absolutely, we are spearheading towards digital product and services, and that will come in line when we launch our mock-ups. Because if you're talking about digital product templates, you need devices, you need ebooks and stuff like that. And so we need mockups to be developed first, and we're almost done with the mockups development. We're going to be rolling out about 100 models in the mockups area, which then, so you can literally drop your design in any kind of physical object soon.
Awesome.
And I want to add, we do have some digital product templates already. You can check out, like, we've done like a Spotify bundle. We've done like a dropshipping course bundle and stuff like that. And even like an engineering course. Remember, if you're an early adopter in Glorify, we give you the privilege of suggesting and prioritizing a design bundle just for you. So we've done that for a few people already. So if you have any specific requests, Chaitanya, and you're part of the early adopter community, then just pop a request in the Slack suggestions.
All right. I think we're almost at the end, and I'm going to go back up because some of the questions are actually from, friends from other groups, and I just wanted to reach out to the people that are new here. So let me scroll up again. Here's one. How to work on an idea or project or business if you have no money, zero money. What are your suggestions? Work until you have some, or make connections and present to an investor.
Yeah. So, the entire VC venture capitalist space is not easy, and I'll tell you something, guys. I've lost count how many people I've had meetings with in early stage investors and even Series A investors that have keen interest that decided we are not the right fit, right? I've lost count because Haroon, my partner, is out there hustling and getting content. So we look really great as a company from the front facing, right? If you check out Glorify, the website, the product and everything, the marketing that we do and the content we create. But ultimately for an investor, like especially nowadays with COVID and all this kind of stuff, you'll find that they're just looking at key metrics. They just want to know, okay, what's your in-app conversion from landing page to sign up for trial? Sign up for trial, what's the conversion to subscription? What's your conversion from organic to subscription? Look, and if those metrics are not hitting a certain level, and honestly, even early stage investors, they want to see like, you're generating, you have potential to scale 100%, 200% month over month, right? Even if you're scaling at that level, but you're still, your scale is going from like, say, $5 every, adding another $10 or subscription revenue a month is not attractive enough. Sometimes the percentage scale is just not good enough for them. So it's not easy to hustle with investors, but you have to do it. Like, it's important that you do, because I'll tell you one thing, it still builds that relationship, right? So even though a lot of early stage investors have rejected us, it doesn't mean that the doors are closed. It means that, once we hit our targets, we can go back to them and they'll definitely invest, right? And the great news is that if you launch a product that you believe in and you put it on Product Hunt, you don't even have to do a lot of the investor seeking yourself. About 50 to 60% of the investors that have come to us approach us firsthand, right? Now, that's just something I want to kind of give a disclaimer in investment seeking. It's not easy to just hustle investors and go down a route until you have some prominence in the product offering and your trajectory. Now, the thing is, some people, and I just have no experience on this, and you have to go out and look at the content for yourself. Like, Melanie Perkins, for example, in Canva, just happened to be great at going into, the Valley in Silicon Valley and just talking to people that of impact and selling them the idea, right? Now, if you're good at that, and I know people are good at that, I've seen my partner, for instance, raised $400,000 in pounds in capital for another project previously, which was an application, which was a mobile application competitor to Uber that's in London, right? So he raised 400,000 capital for that company just through his ability to talk to investors. Some people are great at that, So you need to find that individual. If you're not, I'm not good at it. Like, I just like curled up and in a corner. So so this is where you got to find that talent. If you're, I would say that you might need to partner up. If you don't have the talent, the first-hand talent experience in venture capital, you should find a partner that can help you. And so we're fortunate enough to have it. Yeah, so that's my thing. And again, just do the seed funding method. Try this whole presentation is about agency to product, and the whole idea of agency to product is that you're using your agency to generate revenue and take 10% aside, and your time and effort. Right? Think about this. Even if you're running at a loss with the agency, you don't need extra capital to run your product. You just need to work more. That's all. The investment is working extra. So you've got your agency, and that's sustainable, meaning it's bringing you cash to cover your overheads and give you and support your lifestyle. Now, with that, now that you're supporting your lifestyle and being in the remote world that we live in, the remote work kind of culture, you should be able to find 2 to 3 to 4 hours to spare in your day, around your 8-hour day, to add into your own business. And so just make sure you do that discipline and get your team aligned with the vision. Because my team ended up doing extra for no cost at all in some cases, because I got them to believe in the vision, and they truly believe in the vision. And so much so that me and my partner put 10% equity in the business, exclusive for early founding team members, So now we haven't allocated what percentage is going to look like, because you shouldn't be allocating 1, 2, 3% to anyone in your team, because you don't know if they're going to be there in 1 to 2 years. So you don't want to make a decision like that. You can create kind of vesting schemes, so look, if you're with us for 3 years and we hit these targets, then I'll be happy to give you a portion of the options pool of investment. So that's another way to attract your team, for instance, and get them to do more. Get
them to do more. Yeah. No, but one thing I'm really proud about.
It's real. It's real.
Yeah.
It's a real. It's like, it's not fake. Motivation. It's honest. Like, I mean, who wouldn't, right? If you have a great team and you've got 10% options pool, you build your company with a lot of sacrificing on your time, and your team sacrifice their time, but you build it to like $1 billion valuation, even that $10 million valuation, and they eventually get 1% of the company. That's like, 100,000 to to millions worth in stake, right? So makes total sense.
Yeah, that's a great idea. I mean, for us too at Saastronautics, we're really young, only 4 months old. But everyone on the team, they believe in the vision. We're aligned. Everything you just mentioned. But that last point that you brought up, we never even thought about. So we have these milestones, we have these bonuses and things like that. But that's a great idea that we will look into. And thank you for sharing that. I have a question though. Actually, I forgot. Yeah, I have a ton of questions, Omar, but I can't ask you all of them. But let me see. Well, actually, hold on. Chaitanya, I'll bring this one up first. Sorry. Chaitanya replied, "Thank you, Omar. Best person, founder I've seen with great guidance via tutorials. Always ready to guide. Solve the issue with fast responses. It's amazing to be part of the Glorify app community. Wishing you a glorious journey ahead." Wow, this guy's awesome. On the occasion of birthday, sir. Thank you very much. Wow.
Thank you, Chaitanya. I really appreciate that.
All right. Let me see.
I'm honored.
So yeah, and by the way, if you're watching it now, Glorify, you can still get the LTD. And Omar, if you have time after the call, maybe drop the link for everyone or share the link with me, and I'll drop it for everyone to check it out. And again, actually, I do have a lot of questions, but we're gonna hop off now, and hopefully we see you down the road. The other thing I was gonna mention actually is, you said that you said you run a podcast? Is that right?
Yeah, Path to Glory podcast. You can find us on iTunes, Spotify, Google Podcasts. We're pretty much on every platform. But if you want to watch the video version of that, it's going to be on YouTube. So we have one of the future members, Jose Caballero, on there. Philip Van Dusen's coming soon, and some great entrepreneurs on there. There's even a podcast on raising investment from a head of acceleration who actually helped us initially to raise investment as well. So that's Jennifer Austin. I recommend you check that podcast out, and if you want to try to raise investment, some great gems there. And very soon, guys, we're going to have Aaron Draplin on the podcast, which is really cool. If you're familiar with Aaron Draplin, he's the owner of the Draplin Design. It's just he's got an amazing design story behind him. So check that out soon.
All right, I'm going to check it out. I didn't know about it, to be honest, so I will check that out as well. All right, Omar.
Yeah, cool.
Oh man, there's so much I want to say, but I really felt I really learned a lot, and a lot from you, and I can really relate, and I feel like we're on the same wavelength, and I hope we can connect again. I'll be checking out your podcast, and I hope we can get you on the call again in the future. But
absolutely,
again, thank you. Happy birthday, and thank you so much for coming on. It was almost 2 hours on here. I know you're a busy man, so I really appreciate it. Thank you so much.
Thanks a lot for having me, honestly, and it's been really exciting, and it's been awesome being with you guys today.
All right. Okay, guys, thank you for joining us, and we'll see you next time.